All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really cool story about ambition, a bit of jealousy, and a partnership you'd never see coming, all centered around a small village diner. Let's break down what happened and see what timeless lessons are hiding in there.
Okay, just picture this. You've got an angry mob, they're armed with stones and clubs, and they're chanting, "Smash this entire hotel." I mean, they are ready to tear a brand new business to the ground. This isn't just some small argument. This is a full-on riot.
So, you have to be asking, how on earth did we get here? How does a modern, clean restaurant in a quiet little village end up staring down a mob? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go back to the very beginning and meet the young guy who kicked this whole thing off.
So this is Arjun. He is just done with the crazy cutthroat city markets where, everybody's just selling the same old thing. He's dreaming of a fresh start, and he sees all this potential back in his family's village. It's like a blank canvas where he can build something totally new.
But here's the thing. He's not just opening another one of those traditional roadside dhabas. Nope. His vision is for a proper restaurant, a place that's super clean, with way higher standards, and a menu that's completely different from anything the villagers have ever had before.
So, Arjun throws open the doors to his shiny new spot. But he's not just walking into an empty market. He's setting up shop right next to a local legend. And the way people react, especially his main competitor, is where the story takes its first really unexpected turn.
On one side, you've got Arjun's restaurant, serving up trendy city food like pizza and pasta. And on the other, there's Mithu's dhaba, which has been the heart and soul of the village for years. And it's always packed with locals getting their daily dal and roti. I mean, the contrast could not be more obvious.
But here's the first big twist. Instead of some bitter rivalry, Arjun finds, an ally. Mithu, the guy who owns the old-school dhaba, is nothing but encouraging. He sees how hard Arjun is working, and he genuinely wants him to succeed. He even promises to send his own customers over to Arjun's place. It's the kind of support that just totally blurs the line between a competitor and a friend.
So, here's the crucial problem. Despite the warm welcome, Arjun's whole business idea has a massive flaw. He totally misunderstood his customers. As one of the villagers, a guy named Lalan, puts it, things like pizza are cool for a treat every now and then, but for your daily meal, you need roti to actually fill your stomach. And just like that, the initial excitement for Arjun's place starts to fizzle out.
Okay, so as the customers start to disappear, and this big bank loan is hanging over his head, Arjun starts to get desperate. He's looking for answers, and what he ends up finding is the flashpoint that sets off a crazy chain reaction.
And man, the decline is fast. The initial curiosity just wears off, and pretty soon the bank is calling, threatening to take his property if he misses another payment. Every single night, he has to watch Mithu's dhaba overflowing with people while his own restaurant sits totally empty. He has to figure out why.
So one evening, he walks over to Mithu's and takes a peek into the kitchen, and he is just shocked. He sees dirty pots everywhere, cooks making bread with sweaty, bare hands. I mean, just a complete lack of basic food safety.
This discovery gets a little light bulb going off in his head. He goes up to Mithu and kind of casually asks him about this thing called an FSSI license. It's basically a mandatory government permit you need for any food business. Mithu, being an old school guy, just laughs it off. He's never even heard of it. He says he just got a blessing from the village head and opened up shop years ago.
And just like that, one little piece of information becomes a weapon. The very next day, a jeep full of food safety officials pulls up. They're acting on an anonymous tip. They inspect the kitchen, see all the problems, and immediately seal the dhaba. Mithu's entire life's work is just shut down in an instant.
Well, the news spreads like wildfire. The villagers, led by their leader, the Sarpanch, are absolutely furious. I mean, Mithu is a beloved guy. He once fed the whole village during a famine. So they immediately assume the struggling newcomer, Arjun, is the snake who made the anonymous call.
So now we've got a classic whodunit, right? All eyes are on Arjun. He had the motive, he had the means, he had the knowledge. But, as we're about to find out, there was someone else listening in on that conversation about the license.
When the angry mob surrounds Arjun, Lalan, the village gossip, is the first one to point the finger. He's trying to save his own skin, and he shouts that Arjun was just complaining to him about his restaurant failing and how people weren't eating his chow mein.
And that's it. That's the slip-up. See, no one in the village had been told the specifics of the complaint. By mentioning chow mein, a detail from a private conversation he had with Arjun, Lalan reveals he knows way more than he should. He was eavesdropping the whole time.
And then the whole truth just comes tumbling out. Turns out, years ago, Lalan tried to open his own dhaba, but it failed in just 6 months. He was driven by this old, simmering jealousy. He just couldn't stand watching Mithu succeed, and he couldn't stand Arjun's new ambition either. He knew he couldn't compete, so he decided to just tear them both down.
So, with the real villain exposed, the community is left with this huge mess. Arjun's restaurant is trashed by the mob, and Mithu's dhaba is legally sealed shut. And it's at this absolute low point that the village sarpanch steps in with a truly brilliant idea.
He just points out the obvious. Look, Arjun has the modern business smarts. He gets hygiene, safety, all that stuff. Mithu, on the other hand, he understands the soul of the village. He knows what they want to eat, and he has their complete trust. Separately, they were both failing, but together,
They could be absolutely unstoppable. The sarpanch proposes they become partners. Mithu agrees to invest his life savings to fix up Arjun's restaurant, and together they'll create a new business that serves the traditional food everyone loves, but prepared with the modern, clean standards they deserve.
You know, this whole story is summed up perfectly by a village proverb, Bagal mein chora aur sheher mein dhindora. It basically means the boy is right beside you, but you're searching the whole city for him. In other words, the solution you're looking for far and wide is often right under your nose.
And it leaves us with this final, really interesting thought. It makes you wonder, what if the person we see as our biggest rival isn't actually an obstacle we have to defeat? What if they're the missing piece of our own puzzle? They might just be the perfect partner we never even knew we needed.